Hello and welcome to this episode of the Ranting Atheist podcast. Today we'll be listening to the deconversion story of a Nigerian atheist. He was brought up in Christianity, but in fact, this was a cult, a Christian cult, and he did inside this Niger. Wow. He went through detailed breakdown of the doctrines of that church. I'm like, he didn't even say it was a cult. He didn't even give me the heads up. It was, as he was explaining it, I was like, no, this is a cult. Like, this is too much. This is deeper than, like, come on. Like, it's really amazing. He has been able to think his way out of the firewall of that cult. Like, it's fucking remarkable. So if you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing on this podcast, rather to this podcast. It's available on Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, and many other places podcasts are available. So please sit back, relax, or continue whatever you're doing and listen to the deconversion story of Jayson. Hello, Jayson, and you are welcome to Story of an Atheist.
Thank you, Ranting Atheist. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. Thanks for coming to share your story, man.
Yeah, man. Finally, it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, how your side now? How they go? How they push on?
Bro, they manage you good, and I can't complain now. Just doing things and trying to make ends meet, trying to make sure everything soft.
Hey,
how about you?
Nigeria, everybody in our regional manager.
For real, just the manager side. How about you? How are you doing, man?
I'm at the vest, Joe. I find visa for floor.
Papa, me they rant now, so nobody's supposed to vex. I have a very cool story. The first few times I saw you on Twitter, when I was still Christian, I used to think, who's this guy? This guy was always fight everybody on top tier. I think there was a time I blocked you for a few hours or something. It was not a few days, really. It was not later I can't realize when the whole thing started dawning on me. I can't realize more. Okay, let me actually go through this guy's timeline and see what he's always angry about.
You don't block me. Sometimes I would just be on Twitter. I'll be doing some search. I'll just jam on random accounts. The person has blown who the fuck is this one? Have you ever
I didn't get about any interactions.
Hello, what concern you? Who the fuck are you? Why are you blocking me? I will not even search for the person in my tweets to be sure that whether I've interacted or not. Hardly. Only 1 or 2 times out of almost 50 times that I've checked that. I'm like, who the fuck are you that you're blocking me? I don't know you. What do you want from me? Why is okay? Maybe they saw a tweet of mine, or the fact that they also atheists. I bind you in Jesus' name.
Mine wasn't even just saying that because for a while I was a Twitter apologist, a Christian apologist on Twitter, always getting into these arguments with people like Ovo, Jadon, and so on and so on. And even yes, I think I'm not sure if we did before. I think I probably have replied one of the things you said before once. Maybe you just
maybe it's one of my old accounts.
Someone, and then I just replied. So that day I found your account and I went through everything at your tier. And when I went, I was like, this guy is just always angry about something. Say, sit and not pull spirit of anger inside this one. I just block you. Say, I don't want to see this guy.
Yay!
So I think it's honestly, I think most people would have probably blocked you or so, just add things like that. Just saw you and why is this guy always vexing? I was like, okay, let me block this guy.
I can imagine there are other people like that. Such is life, man. So, can we know a little more about Jayson? We know you're Jayson. What do you do? Your location, if you're comfortable with that. Are you single? How old are you? and any other thing that you're comfortable with sharing.
Okay. My name is Jayson, obviously, a pseudonym, and my nickname actually. And I am 24. No problems with revealing my age. I
Okay.
obviously I'm single. I got had an entanglement, a religion sort of like spoils my last relationship, and finally, what was the last thing you asked? What I do? I am an assistant
Yeah.
director in a secondary school.
Okay. Nice one. Entanglement. Okay, we'll get to that entanglement, yeah. Because religion is a cock blocker.
Notes. I'm searching notes. NB. I'm looking for atheist partners. Really,
Ooh la
really.
la.
I
Ooh
don't
la
I don't know
la.
too I don't know too many. I think I have just one friend that's really atheist and is female. So I'm searching,
I think you
singular
didn't mention
searching.
where you are based. I do want to mention that, or you
Uh,
skip that on
yeah,
purpose.
no problem. I presently I'm in Ocean State, not for long, but
Um,
presently I'm in Ocean State.
okay, nice one. So, atheists, you're an atheist. Other people now, you identify as an atheist. So, can you give me your own definition of what atheism is?
Personally, I believe atheism is the rejection of the belief in any god. The rejection of the belief in any god. I think that's like the best definition that encapsulates how I see atheism. Really.
Say for we here now, is juju on top your own? Me, I dey add juju.
That's why I said any god, like no supernaturalness, no, if there's no god, there's obviously nothing, no supernatural, supernaturality or supernaturalness.
We don't know. Say of recent, all these African traditionalists have been finding way to fuse science with Ifa, with Orisha, with as in I'm just like, what the fuck?
I believe the moment you understand stuff like neurology and is it hypnosis now? When you understand those things and find out that they actually have scientific backings, they have grounds in science, you'd realize
Yeah.
that there's nothing supernatural about them. There's nothing supernatural about most of these things that these people do. I mean, you see magicians that do tricks, and if
Yeah.
a magician does a trick, it's something that if he does it here around us in Africa, yeah, most people probably
Ah.
feel like God, like this person is probably an Ogun worshipper or something like that. So
Nah,
it's just how
white
it is.
juju, white man
You
juju.
understand?
Someone like
I
David
mean,
Blaine now.
most of us. Sorry, before you get into that, most of us actually grew up believing that white men have more juju than us because you look at technology, look at the cars they made. So they will say things like, "Do you think it's natural? Like, how can someone just come up with cars that move and stuff like that?" So I grew up believing that white men even have more juju than us. But it's now so
Damn.
recently when I had like a change in belief system or line of thinking. I got to know that most of these things are just it's just science. It's just people doing things, and there's nothing supernatural about them really. So
Exactly.
that's that about that.
Is research and study. People used to think that thunder was Thor the Parabi Zeus. Now, finally understand why thunder is striking. In fact, people even find ways to induce rain artificially. So
Right, right,
what
yeah,
are we saying?
yeah, right.
Is
That was very popular.
ignorance, man. Ignorance they fuck us up, man, in this country. Beyond see, let's enter the next thing, Jare. Give us a full lowdown of your religious background. Like say e go hot as you don dey whine before we start. So what was religion? What was it like? How did they baptize you with fire and brimstone?
Yeah, finally, I think there should be like a mystery sound there, the kind you get in Hollywood, like gang, 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 that kind of thing.
Uh,
So I noticed you didn't ask this. You didn't ask what my if I'm atheist or agnostic or something like that. So I'll just get into it. I am
okay.
obviously agnostic atheist
Okay.
because I can't prove that there is no God really, and
Okay.
because I can prove that there's no God, I also know that no one has ever proved beyond doubt that there is a God. So
Of course.
agnostic atheism. And a little bit when it comes to purpose of life side, I'm existentialist because I don't want to get into all that. So that's just it. I'm existentialist and agnostic atheist. So now to the whole story.
Yeah, but wait, let's existentialism. Me myself, I want to learn. I don't understand what it's really about. What's from your own perspective? Maybe someone
Yeah,
wants
I
to know.
believe existentialism from existing is just the fact that everyone is alive for a purpose, and that purpose can either be self-assigned or community assigned, or just being good, the act of just being good to everybody. So that you're not here. It's sort of like the opposite of nihilism, where you believe that life is purposeless, or there's no reason why we are here. But I believe that we can make a reason. Everyone can make a reason for why he or she is alive. You just need to look around really
I
and
think
be a
that's
good
where
person.
I stand. Like, I mix nihilism and I like this life has no purpose, but me, I can make my own purpose. So fuck it.
Yeah, so I think I believe it tilts towards existentialism than nihilism. If you've seen this Ricky Gervais newest this Netflix series Afterlife, I really recommend that series for anyone that's looking for
See the
a purpose of life.
Ricky Gervais,
Ricky
have you?
Gervais, yes,
I've been
yes,
seeing
it's on
clips
Netflix.
on. Okay, I watch it. I've
If
been
there's
seeing
anyone
clips.
looking for
All right,
if there's
I
anyone
will
looking
watch it.
for if there's anyone looking for a purpose of life or what life is really, you can watch it. I do recommend it. Experts approval or what or how would I put that? Go watch it really. So
Yeah,
now to the story. Now
yeah.
to the story. Some 24 years ago. Don't mind me, I was in dramatic. So I was born and bred in Ilesha, Ocean State, and
Okay.
I was born in a community or a society that believes that religion or a church, not really religion, a church is life. That a church is like it controls. And there's this particular church. I would get into the name and everything. I'm not. I don't have problems with stating the name. The name of the church
Okay.
is Christ Trumpeters Church. Christ Trumpeters Church in Ocean State, Elisha, mostly.
Single
And
branch.
no, it's spreading now, but it's for many years it was only in Elisha, Ocean State, and this is where
Okay.
the headquarters is.
Okay.
So I was born there, and the thinking there is that the church is life. It's very crazy because they have some very crazy beliefs, and I'll get into all that. Number one is the biggest one is that they believe that we are the only ones that will enter heaven, only us in the church, and
Wow.
and even to other Christians, every other Christian that I have that knows the church either believes two things. Either number one believes that the church is too holy and that they are going to really enter heaven, and most other people believe that we are just brainwashed. Most other Christians, that is not. I'm not talking about people that are not even Christians at all.
The
Most other
irony.
Christians believe that we are brainwashed and that we're just being deluded, and
Wow.
a lot of other people. So I'll get into the core of, just to like give a background so that when I start talking about the deconversion, you'd understand
Yeah.
how I am supposed to be the last person in the whole world to ever become an atheist.
Yeah.
It's very strange. I don't believe, even in this part of the world, it's really not a thing. Like being an atheist is not a thing.
Yes,
If you tell someone you're an atheist, it's always like, you know,
What's
so by
that?
what?
Some
You
people are like,
understand?
what's that?
Exactly, you understand. And even most people that if I come out to most people, they'll probably I've not told anybody around there. But if I do, I believe that it's going to be like, this boy is mad. You finally go mad, that kind of thing. So now let's get to the church core teaching. The core teaching is that they believe that Adam sinned in the Bible. Everything is grounded in the Bible. They are very good in the Bible. I mean, any Bible argument to get in with these people, they are very good. Very good from experience. So they believe that Adam sinned and God cursed him and other humans. Then after God cursed him and other humans, he chased him away from his presence, meaning that Adam died. That death is spiritual death, and as every other person believes. So they believe that God now chose Abraham after many years to start a lineage for his restoration program of man to himself. The Bible follows this story until Jesus Christ, who is God's incarnation in the world, to die for us. Now, that is something that almost every other Christian believes. Now, this is where the twist enters. They believe that anybody that will be restored to become a child of God has to go through a three-step salvation process. Three-step salvation process. Number one is you have to believe by proclaiming. Okay. Number two, you have to be baptized compulsorily inside water by immersion. They believe that every Christian that did not get baptized inside water is not a Christian and is not entering heaven, no matter what you are or no matter what you do. And number three is that
Wala for Catholics.
They believe Catholics now, you can't stay very far. Even they believe deeper lives are not entering heaven. They believe they criticize other churches regularly in church. I'll use we so that for the sake of what we are doing, I use we just like categorize myself with them because I was born and bred there, and I spent the largest chunk of my life there. So the third step is you have to, even after all those things, you still have to keep going to church every day. They call it fellowship or discipleship. You have to go to church every day. There's always a service every day, and not just any church, our church every day, because they believe that every other church teaches prosperity. And from precedence, from what you get around here, most of the churches around here really just preach either you get money from being a Christian, or this ones that mix sort of traditional religion with Christianity. So they now believe that
select people are hopeless.
Hellfire straight. Even people that redeem Hellfire, deeper Hellfire, all of you. Winners far past Hellfire, all of you. All of them. So other teachings that are just very different from other people's teachings. I wrote like 7 things here. I just run through them. Number one is that we are citizens of heaven, so we are not allowed to love or follow the world and its elements. There's a small twist to this. They say something. I don't know if I'm allowed to speak Yoruba here.
Say it.
Okay. The thing is, they call some people Eniaye and Eniara, meaning people of the world and people of flesh. If they call you Eniaye, it means that you're, number one, not part of us. That automatically even sends you to a fire street. So if you want to have hope, you have to be poor. If you're poor, you have hope, a little hope. Eventually, because Jesus said in a part of the Bible, I think Matthew, that it's easier for a camel to enter the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter. So that is where that comes from. Then even the thing of us being the only ones that will enter heaven comes from Jesus's parable of the narrow road and the wide road. How the narrow road only accommodates a few things. You have to be able to like sacrifice and not saying pin and needle salvation. Any small sin sends you back to hellfire, even if you've gone through the 3-step process. So a lot of people around here are hypocrites, but I won't even get into that. People that there are things that you cannot both do. Even as humans, sometimes randomly you just lie. You probably tell a joke that is a lie. All these things will send you to hellfire according to our sermon. So that's why you have to ask for forgiveness as much as you can. When you can.
Steady state of guilt.
Exactly. So most times you have to when you want to ask forgiveness also, if the sin is very hard, the pastor always recommends that you get naked, stay in your room and start rolling on the floor as a sign of humility towards God. To sort of tell God.
Say it again.
You have to get naked. If the sin you committed is very big, like maybe adultery. I think adultery is like the biggest kind of sin around here. Maybe you have sex. No murder. I think adultery is maybe you have sex with someone that you shouldn't. You just you have to the pastor recommends, in order to show humility to God, you have to get naked, stay in your room, get naked and ask for forgiveness while rolling on the floor. I've had this a lot of times with tears and humility. You have to ask for forgiveness from God if the sin is very large. But if the sin is small, like all the small cheap sins, you can just God can just take God, I'm sorry, all these kind of things, and and all that.
God forgive me. God forgive me.
Yeah, you
Fuck.
understand. You understand. So the second one, so I was talking about you shouldn't for love the world or its elements. You are not allowed to get too rich, although there are very rich people amongst them, and
Of course.
there's a lot of very rich people amongst them. Not too many, but like
But
10%
guys,
of people in the church. They don't even disguise. They drive very big cars, but there's another part of the teaching that teaches that everybody every Christian, as a child of God, God knows the amount of wealth that that can sustain you. Is it like sustain that you can manage? The amount of wealth that you can manage that will not. How do I say this? Let me think of the best way to put this. Most times they say it in Yoruba, so I'm just trying to like translate it.
I said to you about
There's like,
let's hear.
and I think I'm good. I've translated it. They believe that there's like a chunk of there's the amount of wealth that God knows you can manage, and you won't fall off, you won't backslide. He knows that, like, he probably feels like, okay, me, if he gives me wealth, I won't backslide. I will stay loyal to him. And if he gives
$2
you,
million,
if he gives you, you understand.
If
If he gives
million,
you,
go fall off.
you understand. So it feels like, okay, if I give you 5,000 naira, you go do okay. If I give you 2 million, you go fall off. So just take 5,000 naira. If I give you 20 million, if you manage them, if you manage 20 million, so just take 20 million. So they're very rich people. I mean, they control the biggest companies around here, the biggest schools. My dad has a school, and it's one of the biggest in the state actually, and the biggest schools in the state, the biggest pharmaceutical industry in the southwest, and the biggest international breweries. They work there. The bosses international breweries in Ilesha, Osun State are members of this church. They don't drink, but they are just working there as the managers. It's so like, I told you most of them are hypocrites. I told you they're hypocrites.
Okay, that's true.
I said that already. So they don't have issues with you working there, in as much as you have your faith is enough to stand and not fall off when you're there. So that's one. So you're not allowed to love the world or the world's element. Another one is, as children of God, God gives riches and the opposite to his children according to how much he believes you can endure. I've said that already. And then another one is compulsorily, because the Bible says, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. You must be different from others in dressing and lifestyle. So every lady in church must wear a skirt that touches a ankle. Every guy must not have a hairstyle, either low cut or you just look decent. I think that's the word they use. They use look decent. So as a lady, you have to tie scarf everywhere.
They always target ladies more, Abby.
Yes, exactly. Ladies tie scarf everywhere. They have to wear a particular. You can't wear the heels has to like, there's a range, a measurement. There's a measurement. The skirt must exactly. The skirt must touch your ankle when you're wearing a top. You must cover your elbow, and so on and so forth. Your clothes must not be too tight. You understand? We've been taught these things from when we were young. So when we grew up, it's just normal. It's perfectly normal. It's natural. So we just do it. Except those that go out and maybe get exposed a little bit, then those ones maybe backslide small. And immediately you start dressing in a way that's different. Number one, you're not allowed to function in any church department. You're considered, you're stigmatized basically. You're just stigmatized. Everybody just looks at you like, this one a child of Satan, that kind of thing. So that is that. Then the next one, most other churches in the world preach prosperity. So most of them are going to hell. That is another point. It is believed that most other churches preach prosperity, and they bring it up every time in almost every teaching. And they say things like, we should be grateful for the kind of church that God has called us into. Because the categories of people that are going to hell, the closest category to us are other Christians. But the fact that they are in their churches, they probably preach prosperity also means they are going to hell. And the fact that they don't dress like us, they wear trousers, they don't tie scarf, they do all these things also mean they are going to hell.
Do their nails.
Fire street,
wear perfume that is big man perfume.
Fire. Voices, fire street. Fire street. Street. So that's another one. The next one is that we are the only ones on the narrow road. I give you the parable of I think Matthew chapter is it 7 or 13 or something like that. It's been a while since I read the Bible, and let me just allude to this. When I was a Christian, I have completed the Bible more than 5 times from beginning to the end. More than 5 times. I have read the New Testament more than 10 times. Then Pauline epistles, many. It's uncountable. Uncountable. So I used to be a golden boy, someone that everyone believed, oh, this boy is one of the future of this church.
Spirit-filled.
One of the efficos of this thing. I used to teach. Yeah, Spiritual. I used to teach. I used to amongst.
Do you speak in tongues?
No, we don't speak in tongues because according to Acts chapter 1, speaking in tongues was speaking another language. That's language that other people can understand. So they believe that people don't speak in tongues these days. It's also one of the reasons why we believe other churches are going to hell, because they are calling. We believe that they are speaking gibberish and calling it God speaking through them. So that's
correct.
So that's another one. Another thing I wrote here is that things that corrupt children. Okay, there are 3 categories of things that corrupt children of God. Number 1 is your flesh. This one is the teaching is born out of the temptation of Jesus Christ. Number 1 is your flesh. That's what your body wants. How the devil tempted Satan with what
you're hungry.
Is hungry. Like your flesh wants it. So the moment you decide to choose your flesh, like your flesh wants some, and it's also hypocrisy because there are some level. I mean, your flesh wants clothes and you're wearing clothes, so you're still picking something that your flesh wants. It's just to a particular degree.
Pick and choose, yeah.
You understand? So like cognitive dissonance a little bit. Cognitive dissonance a little bit. Yeah. So another one is your flesh corrupts you, the world corrupts you. That's fancy places and fancy stuff. Using too much flashy things is believed to be something that corrupts a child of God also. And number 3, the devil. Satan corrupts you also. That's like even the smallest. They say the devil doesn't corrupt you by himself. He doesn't come to you. He corrupts you using 2 of those things, either the flesh or the word. Either he brings something that your body wants to you, or something that is beautiful, that is fancy, flashy, the word. It brings it to you. At the moment you choose that, or you choose any of those things, you're corrupted. You're on the way to hellfire. Don't come for now.
Way to hell.
So you're on the wide road, man. So another one is obedience is the most important thing in Christianity. And obedience is in 2 ways. Either you obey what the Bible says and you obey what the pastor teaches. Meaning that when the pastor says, don't do this, or this thing is bad, the moment you... Sorry. Okay, I'm back.
Are we safe?
Yeah. So, the moment you do... obedience. The moment you do something that you have been instructed to not do, you're going to hell also. Then another one is that our pastor is believed to be the modern day Paul, like Paul of the Bible, the modern day one, the person that God has chosen to carry people to heaven.
Yeah.
So if he says anything, he's very, very feared. Like everyone fears him. He's almost like the real Paul in the Bible. How everyone feared that guy. So because of the fact that he did not, they believe that God called other pastors, right? But they derailed. They made modernism sort of like got the better of them. But because this our own consistency, the fact that this our own teaching has endured for many years. I mean, the church has been running for more than 40 years now. The fact that the teaching has endured and has remained the same for more than 40 years actually means that, this man is actually called. That consistency. And he is very good, for real. Honestly, he's very, very good. I mean, if you get in a conversation with him, if you don't know what you're doing, it will make you feel guilty. 100%. It's very, very good.
But I have a question.
Also, yes.
Now, they say what the pastor says, which one comes first? Like if the pastor says A and the Bible says B, which would you follow?
It will always ground it in the Bible. It always grounds it. It knows how to do it. It knows how to find a way to ground it. So it's not, it never says anything that's not in the Bible. Never.
Oh,
He
okay,
always
okay,
finds a way to
okay.
ground it in the Bible.
It's a
So
fucking
there's
ninja.
no, yeah, it's very good, very good. I think he did philosophy in school. So, and to do philosophy in school, in the
Oh,
midst of people that are very less educated or very less smart than smarter
they
than
don't
him,
stand a chance.
they don't stand a chance. I mean, this man is very, very good. I am emphasizing it again. Pastor Ludari is very, 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 very good. So the next one, next one, atheists are very far off. That's why I'm really the last person that should ever consider it. Yeah, I alluded to this earlier that it's not even a thing. Like it is not a thing. So it is not even believed to be
Unfathomable.
something that anyone should do. It's unfathomable. Yeah, that kind of thing. So that is that. Then the next one, as because God has called us to the church, God did us a favor by calling us to the church. That is, we are by being born, being called into the church means we are born into the church.
Oh,
And God did
lucky
us a
you.
massive favor. Yeah, so we are one of the chosen ones in the latter part of the world because the
And
end
what
is
did
near.
you do to deserve it? Nothing.
Nothing. It's just that's why they believe that the way to repay that favor is to actually just stay faithful and not be a sinner, that kind of thing. So
That is
you repay the favor by being.
recipe for cults. Huh.
Finally, I've been expecting you to say it. I intentionally did not use the
I've
word.
been holding myself back.
A lot of people that hear this story from me actually have said that, yeah, man, this is a sect, man. It's yeah, because it really is. It really is a sect. Really is a
Damn.
sect. So the next one is that because of okay, I'll get into all that later. The next one is this word. Your time the time you spend in the world is temporal. So you should be able to sacrifice a few years of sinlessness to get into eternal flex, like eternal enjoyment. Heaven is eternal, so everlasting. So you should be able to sacrifice sinlessness or sins to be able to enjoy what God has on offer for
what,
you.
what do they describe heaven like? Like, is it bowing down, worshiping
Bro,
God, mansion, or are you
bro,
getting your dick sucked, or which one?
bro, the description of heaven is revelation, obviously, and he knows how to explain revelations very well. He's probably the only pastor in the world I've had that explained
Fuck.
revelation. It would make it look very fanciful to you. Let me explain. Let me get into it a little bit. You immediately you enter. Okay, number one is that John did not actually describe heaven as much as he can. He only used the brain of humans cannot really express what John said, what John saw,
Oh,
and
yeah,
the best he did was just the best that
was available.
that the human brain can do.
Yeah,
You understand? So you see
yeah.
things like I saw things like gold or something that looks like gold and things like that. So it now makes it look like this thing is actually looking better than gold. So why would you not sacrifice gold in the world? That is using earring and chains and all these things to be able to deserve gold up there. That thing that is more than gold. Then another thing is that when you're in heaven, you're going to be in the presence of God, and that is like the biggest enjoyment. The fact that you're in the presence of God, and you will not be sorrowful again. You're going to be happy forever. You're going to be like a mini God. You're going to be like God. And I think there's a verse of the Bible that says, "And you shall be, and you shall see him just as he is." Something like a First John or something. I'm a little rusty. It's been a while. I've not read the book in a few years.
Understandable, yeah.
I've not read the book out of anger. Really, I'm going to get back to it because I used to be very good with quoting all these things, but it's just for like 2 years now. I've not really
Take
read
a
the
break.
book.
Take a break. When it's time, you reload and
So
become a ninja, counter ninja.
yeah, right. Yeah, right. So after that, another one is that before you okay, the Bible is sufficient. You're not allowed to read any other book apart from the books you use in school. So as a young person, you're not allowed to read any other book. The moment
So
you read any other
science.
book,
How do
no,
you
no,
cope with science?
except the ones that you are recommended to read, because except the ones you read for school. You understand? And one thing they say about the purpose of being in school actually is that you can, the reason why you are allowed to go to school is so that, because like Paul, Paul says that is learned and his ministry
Okay.
became big. He wrote huge chunks of the Bible because he was learned. God was able to
Yeah.
use that, him being learned, for his own purpose. And you
How
know that he even
convenient for
wrote more
God.
than You know, I even wrote exactly. You know that I even wrote more than the other apostles like Peter
Now
and
you
so on
get
and so
the
forth. And
Bible, now you get the New Testament. Everybody just deceiving themselves.
exactly. I believe he
Paul
invented.
is the
I believe
owner
he
of
invented it.
Christianity.
Right. We are on the same page with that. So it is believed that the fact that he is learned was what God used. And if you're learned, God will have more things to use than you not being learned. So just go to school and learn. So that is why they allow people to go to school around here. That's the
But
reason.
for you personally, how did you cope? Or was the science diluted? Like things like evolution, did you ever come across it before when you were young?
Yes,
When
I
maybe
think all of
secondary
us
school?
did. All of us did in secondary school. There's rarely anyone that didn't, but it's always sort of like subsided. Like it's just always said like they used to say something like evolution, but it's really nothing. It's really nothing that much. It's just what people in the world, what scientists that the devil has
So that
entered
you went
are
to a
using to
Christian
define.
school.
It's a Christian school pretty much. My dad, I told you
Uh,
the schools around there are Christian schools, so it's sort of very
okay.
subsided. And because
Okay.
of all these things I've said, you're not allowed
Yeah.
to travel to live somewhere else
Mm,
because they
okay.
believe that God has called us here, and this is where God wants to use us.
Mm,
So because God has
okay.
called us here and this is where He wants to use us, you're not allowed to live somewhere else. So you can't say that you're traveling. If you want to travel, it's either for maybe school and you have to come back, service and you have to come back, or maybe you have an occasion to attend and you have to come back
So
also.
they will want you to marry and give birth to children there.
You can't marry someone that's not a trumpeter as a trumpeter.
Kato, it's a Kato. Yeah, this is Jehovah
You,
Witness
you,
vibes.
you can't
Jehovah
marry
Witness vibes. Oh,
you can't marry someone that is not amongst us as a member. You can't.
hey.
So you can't
Okay.
marry. It's just so
Uh-huh.
another thing is that
Okay.
you are not allowed to go anywhere that the church doesn't have a branch. And they have a new branch in Lagos recently. Although they are not much because they really can't get a lot of people around there
What?
because I believe
Lagos
that
people.
I believe that I believe that Lagos people are more wild than that.
Lagos people
I
know
lived in
well.
Lagos for a while. I lived in Lagos for a while, so I know. During
Uh-huh.
my own finding myself phase, I lived in Lagos for a little bit.
You
So
can't cage Lagosians. You have to bring something attractive. You can't just say you want to be poor. Hunger will kill you. Hey.
exactly. Exactly. So most of their branches are in just villages or towns that are in the outskirts of
Yeah.
Osun State, like
That's their target
Oshogbo,
market.
all these small villages and so on and so. Then
Mm.
Ibadan also, although they are not much in Ibadan also, but they have a church there. They have a church in Ife.
Ibadan self don't they open up small.
Yeah, right. They have a church in Ife. They have one in Oshodi in Lagos. For anyone that wants to attend, you can just contact me. I'll direct you. You're going to, if you want to amuse yourself, if you want to amuse yourself, contact me. I'll send you a location. You go there and you
Hey.
find what I'm saying.
Now more
And
work I go use enter the church.
they will pursue you after they will pursue you. They will
Wahala no
pursue
dey
you, but
finish.
they pursue you. So another thing is before I get into my own deconversion story, one other thing that's important to note is that around here, everything that they do is grounded inside the Bible. Like they will read the Bible to you and make you see it. If you're not smart enough to if you're not smart enough to debunk it, they'll make you see it. They are that good. They will make you see it. So now to my own deconversion story.
When they start breaking down all the because
When,
guy, this is what you have described. Like this is a fucking strong firewall. How the hell did you hack it? What broke through and made you be like, what the fuck is going on?
yeah, I think one word to if you ask me to answer that with one word to describe it is just adventure. Adventure. I've always had this sense of adventure. I always wanted to actually see what the other from the start. I told you, as I said, I was a golden boy. I was born and bred there. So I graduated from the University of Badon around 2015.
Okay.
And I to show you that I was a golden boy, I am the youngest ever chorister in the church. I am the youngest ever instrumentalist. I am the youngest ever, everything. I graduated to university. People are going to scream when they hear this, but I graduated university aged, what was my age then? 2016, age 19. I I entered university when I was 14. I graduated age 19 because of ASU strike and stuff. So I went to service 20, and that was when shit started happening when I was going for service. Most young people in the church are hypocrites. Most of us are hypocrites because we go to church, give what they want to see, what our parents want to see, and
Exactly, no.
we go out and do our shit, especially when we're in school. Most of the children in from that church that are in school, I can tell you, 90% of them are doing stuff that their parents or the church will not approve of.
Yes, no, Conjina bastard, no, guys.
Exactly. So a lot of them are doing that shit. So I was one of those that really didn't do stuff. I was very good at hiding it. Throughout my years in school, people get reports like when you are much in school, when church members see you doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing, even as small as using a bracelet, they'll bring it to church and report to you, and you start having issues. And immediately you have issues, your parents have issues. And I think the most disgraceful thing your parents can go through in this part of the world is to be stopped from ministering in any church department. The moment you do that, your parents will start feeling very bad. I mean, I know my parents were crying every day when I left. So after that,
So it was adventure that made you to just leave that time, Abi?
yeah. So it was adventure. When I finished from school, I started serving, and during my service, I met some people that were very smart, and inside my head, I started feeling like, are these people going to hell also? Like these people look too smart than to go to hell. I had never encountered people like that before. The most I was exposed was school. Like when I went to school, that's like the most I knew then. The only thing I knew were school and home, school, home, school, home, and home means church, obviously. So because the whole lifestyle is encapsulated inside church, you can't do anything outside church. Even when you go to school, you have to take permission. This is when I'm going. This is when I'll be back. So the church pretty much controls every part of your life. Every part of your life. You cannot do anything without. If you want to go for any occasion, you have to go to church, register your department, write a letter that you're going to an occasion, and when you'll be back, and so on and so forth. So
we have less than 10 minutes, so don't forget to.
Oh, okay. So this was how my own started.
For safety.
Yeah, right. I started just meeting people, and before then, when I was still in the church, before the whole service thing came up, like a few years before that, I met someone in church that told me something about eternal salvation, and I didn't take it. He just alluded to it. The guy was one of the folks that we see as a backslider in church.
Yeah.
One of those that went and came back after a while, and everybody just feels like this guy is a child. We just stigmatize him. But there was a day that he came to meet me, and I was one of those boys that shouldn't be seen around people like that because I was a golden boy. He was a backslider. So he said something like eternal salvation, and I just had it and just left. But it stuck with me. Do you understand? It stuck with me, but it really was meaningless to me, but just stuck with me. So during service, when I told you that I started meeting people and I started feeling like, these people too did this word now, like these people too, how these people could take here this our own version of the gospel so that they will enter heaven. Like, or more. And the normal thought would have been a normal trumpeters member would have been to preach to them. But my own thought was like, okay, let me actually see the other side. Let me see how the other side lives. Let me see how they live. Then I went back to this guy, and the guy I told you from years ago. At this moment, I had not seen him in many years. I just called him out of the blue. I found his number somehow and called him like, hey, he told me something some years ago about eternal salvation. What's that about? Explain. Then he explained a few things. He sent a very long voice note and introduced me to a pastor. I don't know if I can name him. He has been named on the podcast before from previous ones, Pastor Onoyinka Olusegun. And I started following him. I learned a few things from him. I mean, I became very, very fervent in listening to him, that I listened to him every day, every time, every day. And I
Wow.
became practically, that was when I started backsliding from the
As a
trumpeter's way.
trumpeter. Mhm.
Yeah, I started like becoming a grace preacher. Like, okay, this is grace. This is Jesus Christ has died once and for all, and all these things, and yada
Abio.
yada. And that happened 2017. So I just kept following him for many months. I became very, very grounded in it, that I even started preaching it to other people also. I started living where I was serving. I started living where I was serving in Ekiti State to go to Lagos to attend Carrie's camp meeting, to attend Believers Convention without the consent of my parents, of course. And I started going to Lagos to just learn from him and so on. I became close with this guy I called a backslider also. We got very close. We used to talk about stuff. We used to like discuss Bible. I started my own mini church, online church. I would
Wow.
organize Zoom. Is it Zoom meetings now? What's this thing? Google
Yeah.
Meet or something? Where
Okay.
that's just voices only, and something like Clubmaster, but not really Clubmaster.
Clubhouse, Abi.
Something like Clubhouse. I'm sorry, but not really Clubhouse, where we talk about the Bible. I preach to people, and I started having converse. Even I, at that point, started seeing things like I'd see that I started seeing things, started prophesying, I started speaking in tongues, and so on and so forth. Throughout COVID, that's endured from
Hellfire.
2017
Oh, hellfire.
that happened between 2017 and 2020. Throughout COVID year, I was always isolated at home praying. I used to fast from morning till probably 4 o'clock in the evening. My parents knew about that, but they didn't know that I was fasting because of Onoika. They thought I was fasting because they believe that God has a purpose for me in trumpeters.
Abi.
And one other thing that I forgot to say before time runs out is I'm trying to rush everything now because of time.
I understand, yeah.
One thing I forgot to say is before I was born, there was a prophecy that I was going to be used in trumpeters. And after I was born, even I have the prophecy recorded on my phone from trumpeters that I am going to be Samuel. I'm going to be God's Samuel, and that he was going to lay hands on me, and I was going to be I was going to be one of the future of the work of God in the church. So,
Prophecy till last
and
dance.
yeah, before I was born and after I was born. So when that happened, I started feeling like, okay, maybe that prophecy is actually real. But God actually, because God didn't specify the church, maybe he wants to
Okay.
use me in another church. So I just like give myself that meaning. You understand?
Yeah.
I told myself that. So my parents also, anytime they find me praying, they don't stop me because they believe, oh, this boy a child of promise or child of covenant or that kind of thing. So let's just leave him, no matter what he's doing. I used to come out and preach, but then I was already not a trumpeter anymore. I didn't believe those things anymore. I became more of a grace preacher, someone that believed that we are saved, we are saved for once and for all. And all those teachings just left my head. All this don't wear this kind of clothes and everything left my head. So from there, I feel like now that I am what I am, now that I am atheist, I feel like I needed that process. I needed to shed off the trumpeter way to take the grace way, because the grace way is somewhat closer to atheism than this trumpeter's way. You understand?
Yeah.
You can't be a trumpeter and become atheist. You're going to be scared, self. Fear will catch you from inside, self, will kill you, because you start seeing things that will happen to you around there, and those things will start having meanings. Like maybe you fail, maybe you have an accident, you start feeling like, oh, maybe it's because
God
of
is
this thing I'm
punishing you.
thinking. God is punishing you, and so on and so forth. And God is
Yeah.
presented as a cruel being, someone that if you sin once like this, you don't get
Punish
issues.
you.
So after the honor interface, I decided during that time that I was going to leave. So at some point in that 2020, I stumbled upon a Twitter debate between Ono Inka and most of you guys, you atheist guys of the time, principally Jadon on Twitter. And that was when Jadon and I spoke. I stumbled upon an argument and I became sort of like an apologist myself on Twitter. I used to argue with people, and honestly, I used to win most of those arguments. Honestly, I actually did this to win because I was very good I mean, I had a background that was Christocentric, that was extremely Christocentric
Yeah.
to the mild centric one. I don't know if that's a word, but let's just take that. I became mild centric. So I had that mixed together. So I had a response for everybody. I had a response for everybody. So three stages now: trumpeter stage, honor stage, apologetic stage. I became an apologist, and I started following people like Rabbi Zacharias and so on and so forth, Jordan Peterson, and so on and
William
so
Craig.
forth. William Craig, yeah, and so on. So I just started following them and like listening to them and just following them, and from there I started becoming sorry. I became a debater on Twitter. I used to debate intentionally. I'll go on Twitter and search for the word atheist, and anything you say,
Just like me.
I'll start replying you and just create an argument and win you, because the moment you can't reply me anymore, I just tell you I've won and so on and so forth. So and that's like the third stage. So there was a day I stumbled upon an argument, and I saw an argument between the pastor himself, Pastor Noinka, and Jadon. And Jadon presented some very, 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 very good points that entered my head. And at that point, I started praying that God, what's happening? Like, this guy said some things and I'm seeing sense in it. Like, why should I be seeing sense in what he's saying? Like, something is wrong somewhere. So I just
Remember
started.
your point.
I really can't. It was about wokeism. Onenka said atheists, Nigerian atheists are just victims of wokeism. And Jadon started replying, because Jadon was also an ex-Ononkaite. So that's what we used to call ourselves, Ononkaites or Ononka boys. So he's an ex also like me. That was when I got to know, okay, this guy actually has lived inside it also. He has experienced it, and now he's saying these things. What did he see? Okay, I started following him. I didn't follow him. I started going to his timeline to just read stuff. I was praying. You understand? I was praying. Anytime I was around, I was always praying that God, please save me from this spirit of this thing that's trying to consume me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, inside my head, in my head, I was praying. At the same time, I was always going through his TL on Twitter, going through his TL, reading his stuff, reading, educating myself. And anybody he tags or any article he talks about, I go to read the article and so on and so forth. But inside my head, I was praying. Outside, I was reading. So I started having small issues with a lot of those things. Then I didn't follow him. Not like I wasn't following him. I just knew his Andrew Orphan.
You were following, but you're not following.
I wasn't really following on Twitter, but I knew his Andrew Orphan. So I used to follow him and read his stuff. So from there I used to pray and I used to follow. But I was just sort of divided inside my head, because now I have knowledge, or I had knowledge. I actually know what's up. I had knowledge, but on the other side, I wanted those things to be false. I wanted those things to be fake. I wanted to just find something that will disprove everything that I've read. Something that will just be like a contradiction, or something that won't make sense. And inside me, I was like, yeah, bingo, that is it. This is what proves that Jadon is wrong. But I never found it. Then from there, I started following people like Michael UD. I started going through his TL also. That's where you also come into the picture. I used to go through your own TL also. Then I think you used to use Ranting Atheist instead of the Ranting Atheist, and other folks also, people like Paulo and so on. So then inside my head, I'll be praying that those things were false. But naturally, I was going through their TL and reading and educating myself. Studying them and just getting knowledge. Then I met someone else, Matic. Then that was the first person I reached out to.
Okay.
Matic. I spoke to him, and we spoke for a long while. And I think I remember that day, something very funny happened. That day I was actually at home. I asked my dad to send me airtime. He sent me 2,000 naira airtime. And I used the airtime he sent to me to call Matic, and we spoke for a long while. And although he said what he said, then he was agnostic. I think now he's atheist, because from his posts, I see that the guy seems to be atheist. But then he was agnostic. It was just anti-Christian and anti-Abrahamic religion.
Yeah.
Anti-Abrahamic religion. So he sort of had a thing for the local ones then. So we spoke at length, and Then when I heard everything he said, after I knelt down and prayed again, that God, I don't hear another thing again. Waiting to do my head. Like what's happening? Like just show me a sign that something is wrong. Like when I'm reading, just show me something that is wrong, so that I'll know that this thing is wrong. This is God. This is what God is showing me. Even with that, I was in service, obviously. I used to come home every 2 weeks, and they don't allow us, they don't allow us serve outside the southwest, so that we won't be far away from church. So every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we come home, or once a month, or once in 2 months, we come home. So I was serving in Ekiti State, and then I used to that was the phase where I started having issues. So after that, after the old Twitter phase, I started reading. The first book I read was what's this book? No, not The False Men. Okay, no, I didn't start reading then. Then I started using this. What I'm saying is end of 2020 towards the beginning of 2021 is what I'm talking about now.
Okay.
So that's like the end of 2020, beginning of 2021. So at that point, from 2019 to 2020, I was divided for like the whole year. I was divided. I was fasting, I was praying, but inside my head, I was praying also, but naturally, I was reading atheist stuff. Do you understand? So, going to now, the story enters 2021 now. 2021 was now when I decided that after service, still on 2020, after service, I decided to do my master's. I didn't want to come home yet because I still wanted to keep learning. So I told my dad I wanted to do my master's in Ekiti State, the same school, the same state I was serving. I started my master's immediately after my YSC, just so that I won't come home and I'd have time to like just process and sort out my thoughts and so on. So I started my master's then. I started doing it. I was still going through this religious dilemma or knowledge dilemma, information dilemma I had then. Inside my head, I was praying. I was preaching to people. My online church was still going on fine. And I was reading atheist stuff in the hope of getting something that is contradictory, just look for something that disproves atheism. So now start of 2021, I decided after my master's that I wasn't going to go back home, that I was going to leave Ekiti and travel to Abuja. And I just wanted to leave. I was tired with the Trumpeter's thing, and inside my head now, Trumpeter wasn't right, because I had disproved that one over and over again. I know that almost every Christian that believes Jesus Christ is going to heaven, no matter how you dress, you don't need to be baptized to enter heaven and all these things. But what the dilemma was between grace preaching and atheism. Grace preaching and atheism. That was the dilemma I was in. So I felt like, okay,
pushed you over.
So it was a conversation. I had a conversation with Jayson, the devil, the real devil that started the whole thing inside my head. I still tell him that we still talk up till today. We are good friends. So I texted him Monday, and I was like, "Hey, bro, what's up? 2021. I can't remember the precise day, but it was 2021. I texted him like, bro, what's up? I stumbled upon, he told me that we should talk on Clubhouse. We opened the Clubhouse room and had an extensive conversation, more than an hour, maybe even more than 2 hours, really. We spoke at length, and I found out that our backgrounds were actually similar, from an extremely Christocentric background to being an Onoyinka, to being an apologist, to being an apologist, to being an atheist. So, and that was the step. Those were the steps, the stages of his own deconversion, and that was like one of the stages of mine also. And when we had the conversation was when everything just changed for me, and I was just like, man, I'm done. I'm fucking done. I need to like research on what the other side feels like. And I was in Abuja and I was doing my research. I didn't read the Bible once. I wanted to educate myself on the other side. I started reading books like The False Men. I started following Richard Dawkins. I read The God Delusion. I read The Greatest Show on Earth, and so on and so forth. I read all these books. I followed The False Men, basically Christopher Hitchens, Daniel Domet, Sam Harris, and Richard Dawkins. I followed 4 of them up till today. I'm like an ardent follower of 4 of them till today. So I started reading their books. I started listening to their podcasts, Samaris's podcast mostly. Started watching their videos on YouTube and stuff. So that was when the switch just flipped pata pata, and it was just done. I knew I was done, man. I was done because it was beyond doubt at that point. It was just beyond doubt. I followed them. I read. I think Jadon recommended It's Okay to Be Smart. I went over to his YouTube channel, went through his stuff on evolution, and everything just seemed correct. Everything just seemed right, and it just seemed perfect. Like, so this is what the world is. This is, and things that I've always had questions, the questions I've always had, everything just seemed sorted. Like, everything was easy. And then I became agnostic. I still wasn't full-blown atheist then. I was just agnostic, like, okay, maybe there's a God and we don't know, because there were still some things like what we said earlier, things like fetishism, this supernaturalness, like wait, have people they enter one chance for Abuja now, people they talk say they used to do knock them and they don't remember what's happened again, and so on and so forth. Like since there needs to be a God behind all the supernatural things. So maybe there's a God, but it's not the one that is not someone that we know. There's someone in charge of all this mess. And you know that immediately someone gets to that stage, I know that you can bear with me witness that the person is just inches away from atheism, really.
That's deism or something.
Yeah, exactly. So immediately I go to that stage, I knew it. I was done. I just, Baba, accept what you want to accept. You're done. You're done. So after like the whole 1 year in Abuja, I came back home December last year. And the reason why I came back home is I'm planning to just flee pata pata at some point. And at that point, I want to have spent time with my family, because throughout the time I was not around, they were always crying. I mean, their business took a delve. At church, they started having issues, and people used to stigmatize them because their child was not around. And it is believed that if your child is not around, you probably didn't do a good job. And I loved them so much, and I wanted them to be happy, really. I love them, and I just love myself more, really. I love them. So I wanted to just come back, and if everybody sees me and I'm around for a while, a few years or a few months, and if I'm able to convince them or not, I'll just leave eventually. But now I'm here, and I
don't expect you to convince them. So
I don't expect so too, but I just want to be here for a while and probably raise some money. It's easier to raise money here. My dad has a school. He gave me a job there, and so on and so forth. So it's easier to raise money here. Eventually, maybe I'll just travel or something. So that's why I'm back home now.
Yeah. So the goal is to collect your leverage back eventually.
Exactly.
Bro, your story has been very, as you said, it's a very different story. As the way you just break it down.
I told you, man. I told you.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Hope you enjoyed Jayson's story. Please subscribe up Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever podcasts are available. Then if you want to share your story, please reach out via the links in the show notes below. And that's all for now. Have a great week, and I'll catch you on the next one.